Hey everybody, this is the progress report for this July. It's almost mid-July. Can you believe that? The summer is speeding by way too fast, but it's been magnificent weather we've had in New Hampshire, hasn't it? It's just been glorious. And in any event, I don't want to just talk about the weather because we got more important things to get to. We are facing in this state, in this community, in our nation and around the world, a major, major crisis that seems to be getting far too little attention from our policymakers in both parties, and that is the climate crisis. But that's going to be somewhat, to the extent we can, addressed to us by today in this program. I am joined today by Malia Till, a very important part of our community. She's been the town moderator in Derry, New Hampshire. She's been a state rep, elected from Derry. Now she's living in Concord, but she's a very active member of a very active community we have at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Manchester, where one of our major issues that we want to address is the issue of the climate crisis. So we're going to have for you today, folks, is a video that's going to take up most of this program, and I have to credit Malia Till. And you can call her Mary. She answers to either. But Mary attained the script and put this show together, and we did it at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Manchester, a month and a half ago or so about that. And it's not professionally done. You'll see that I'm in it, which tells you that right away. But it does offer information about the climate crisis we're facing that I don't think many people will see in other places than if you're joining us tonight, and I hope you will. And we are going to do this. It's about a 45-minute video. That's a very unusual thing for us here on the Progress Report. Normally we chat amongst ourselves, and usually with a guest or two guests. But the climate crisis is not going away. It's not going away even while everybody's talking about the price of gasoline prices and saying, well, we should drill for more oil. We should have more natural gas exploitation. Some people even say we should have more nuclear power. My God, that really drives me way up the wall on that one. But this I have to credit Malia for bringing this information to us. And the program you're going to see is far from professional. We didn't all learn our lines. That was beyond my capability. It may be many of the others. But we did have an opportunity to read the script. And it has things in here that I suspect many of you out there will have never heard about before, like the potential effect on the Gulf Stream, about the melting of the permafrost in Siberia and the emergence of the tusks of mastodons and mammoths from, 55,000 and more years ago. Things that we never thought about are brought to us in this video. And Malia, I think, deserves enormous credit for providing us with this information. Malia, would you like to introduce our program? Or have I done it?
Certainly you've done a good job. I think that what you're going to see is what's called it'll explain at the beginning of the show, but it's designed as a script reading play, so that allows amateurs who can freeze up when they try to memorize lines and then they forget something and then the whole thing goes backwards. So they don't have to worry about that. They have the script in their hands and they're better able to emote and do a little ad-libbing if necessary. So I think let's get on with the show, and maybe we have time for some questions after.
And I do want to invite our people to call in 603 640-3091 is the call-in, as it has been for a long time. And we hope that this will stimulate some discussion, because we will have time, as we air this thing, to have some conversation with our viewers. And we always look forward to that. So please watch, and I hope we'll hear from you. Okay, Brendan?
So my name is Malia Till.
And I'm Liz Alkoskas.
And together we work together to prepare this presentation of the play Mother Earth versus the World's People. So Mother Earth versus the World's People is what I call a open source play written by Doug Stewart in 2004-2005. And I call it open source because he wrote it such that he gave permission for people to take parts out, add parts in, and basically create the play so that it fits their particular occasion. And it also allows for updating. So the play was written in 2005, now it's 2022, and some updating has been done in the particular version you're about to see. We're going to do what's called a stage reading, and what that means is that the actors will be reading from the script on camera. The reason for this is that we are using actors who are amateurs, all of whom tend to be members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Manchester. So most people, certainly maybe not all of the people in this particular play, but most amateurs have a tendency to freeze up at some point during the play and forget their lines or get lost in the lines. So this way they have the security of holding the script in their hand, and they have, therefore, the freedom to emote more, to ad-lib a little bit, to add a little humor to the play and basically enjoy themselves so that the audience can enjoy the film.
Why do you think it's important to air now?
So I first became involved in the environmental movement in the early 90s, and I think the early 2000s I saw the movie An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. And I was, dutifully impressed by the information in that film. But at that time, the experts were saying we had perhaps to the end of the century, so 2100, to get our act together. And I figured that was a lot of time, so I'd do my part, but I kind of relaxed. Then I saw this play at the UU Manchester Church in 2010, and I became aware of even more of the intricacies of this particular phenomenon. In particular, the idea of a feedback loop. So what's going on is, as the temperature of the atmosphere rises, there is carbon and methane that has been stored in the earth, under the ocean, in peat bogs, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And as the temperatures rise, this carbon, this ancient carbon, begins to seep out. So as that seeps out, it warms the atmosphere even more, and then more and more carbon comes out until it becomes a feedback loop, and human beings have no control over what's happening. So I figured that was a pretty serious situation, and that it was time that we brought this play, this information, in somewhat of a humorous fashion before more eyes, to get more people concerned about doing something, because scientists are now saying we've got maybe a handful of years to get our act together if we're going to avoid this feedback loop. So I say, let's get on with the movie.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please stand.
The jury may be seated. The International Court of Last Resort is now in session. What's going on here today, bailiff?
Your Honor, we have the case of Mother Earth versus world's people.
Really? What's the charge?
Mother Earth is charging world's people with acting in ways that cause her grievous personal harm and limit her inherent civil right to a fruitful existence.
That's a very serious charge, Mother Earth.
Yes, Your Honor, but it's a very serious situation. I have been
What
patient.
he said. I have been patient with world's people long enough. I'm here to take action.
This is most unusual. Mother Earth is really upset. Has she ever done this before?
I believe so, Your Honor. Just ask the dinosaurs.
Of course. The court rules this to be an important and valid case. Mother Earth, you may call your first witness.
Objection, Your Honor. This isn't fair. There's no solid proof of global warming. It's just the normal changes in temperature over centuries. ExxonMobil says it's so much hot air. Remember, the Earth was once covered in ice. It's ridiculous to accuse world's people of acting against Mother Earth. World's people are innocent, I tell you. I call for dismissal of all charges.
Ignorance of irresponsible behavior is no defense, sir. Objection overruled. You may proceed, Mother Earth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I call Ms. Melting Glacier. Ms. Glacier, would you please tell the jury the location of your home?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the Rocky Mountain National Park, which is in Montana. That's where I was born.
And what is happening to you and your friends all over the world?
What is happening? Oh my gosh, we're shrinking. 86% of us around the world are melting. In 1890, when the Glacier National Park opened, there were 150 glaciers, all related to me. Now, there are only 37% of my relatives are left. 37% out of 150.
Can you please tell the jury what happens when you melt?
Gladly, Mother Earth. Because we're melting so fast, we're flooding the lands below us, washing out crops, bridges, sometimes entire villages.
And then?
And then, we're getting smaller and smaller, and we're afraid one day we'll be completely gone. I'm not ready to be a glass of water just yet.
And what if you do vanish, Ms. Glacier?
If we're completely gone, our runoff will also be gone. People will have no harvest to eat, no water to drink, to bathe in, or to wash their clothes. I don't know where the world's people would go, or what they would do. You know us very well, Mother Earth. Glaciers contain 24% of the world's fresh water. In Tibet and China alone, Your Honor, 300 million people depend on our runoff. What will people do? There'll be no rivers and no watersheds.
Ms. Glacier, what is causing you to rapidly melt?
It's getting too warm, Your Honor.
It is.
Much too warm. We've never had winters this warm for thousands and thousands of years. I don't care what anybody says. I want to cry, but even my tears are drying up.
Thank you, Ms. Glacier. Please step down carefully and no further running water, please. Thank you, Bailiff. Your Honor, for my next witness, I call Ms. Rising Oceans. Ms. Oceans, almost all of us around the world observe that you are rising, that if you continue before any century goes by, you will be covering many of my beautiful coastal cities, such as Tokyo, San Francisco, London, and New York. You'll also be covering the not-so-pretty ones, such as Mar-a-Lago. Buildings are collapsing in Florida. Tens of thousands of people are being displaced annually in Bangladesh.
Is it true, Ms. Oceans, that you will be covering many coastal regions?
I'm afraid it's true, Your Honor. World's people are burning fossil fuels, and they give off millions of pounds of carbon dioxide each year. Mother Earth's temperature continues to rise. As it gets warmer, glaciers calve, and that sends millions of gallons of water down to me. Thermal expansion makes me bigger and taller and higher. But it's not my fault, I tell you, it's not my fault.
Objection, Your Honor. Our own stable genius, the former president, has said that the jury is still out on humans causing global warming by burning fossil fuels. What about wind turbines? They cause cancer and kill thousands of eagles. The science is just too inconclusive. What would Mother Earth have us do? Walk? Bike? Take buses and trains to work?
Yeah, sure. Over 2,500 of the world's leading scientists have unanimously agreed that world's people's burning of fossil fuels is causing global warming, and the scenario that Ms. Oceans has just described.
2,500 scientists, you said?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's good enough for me. Objection overruled.
Now, Ms. Oceans, can you please tell the jury what else lies beneath your warming waters?
Out of sight on the bottom of some of my oceans are tons. Make that megatons, gigatons of the most powerful greenhouse gas, methane. Methane is 20 times more powerful than its more well-known cousin, carbon dioxide.
But methane is a gas, Ms. Rising Oceans. How does it form on the bottom of an ocean?
Well, sir, gases can be frozen. Well, gases can be liquefied, and liquids can be frozen, as I learned in high school. That's the state it's lying in, frozen on my cold seabed in the form of solid methane hydrate, kind of like methane ice.
And if you oceans get warm enough to start melting those tons and tons of methane hydrate,
all hell would break loose. Your Honor, it would cause what scientists are now calling methane burps. Excuse me. It would have the same effect as 9,000 cows gassing away in this chamber.
I get the disagreeable picture. What could you do to prevent such a disaster?
Frankly, sir, nothing. But don't blame me. It's the world's people. They continue to burn fossil fuels at the current rate. It will be lights out for the world's people. Mother Earth will survive as she has in the 5 previous extinctions on the planet. But the amount of methane will spell doom for almost every living thing on the planet, except, of course, for cockroaches and ticks.
Do you see now why I'm so angry?
I'm beginning to understand, Mother Earth. Extinction and cockroaches running parliaments and major corporations is just not, well, an option for most corporations.
Thank you, Ms. Rising Oceans. Your Honor, for my next witness, I call Mr. Pete Boggs.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth? Oh my God, I can't stand this guy, Your Honor. He stinks.
Why, thank you, sir. I've been working on that.
Mr. Boggs, you will not make a mockery of this court. Just please tell the members of the jury how large the Pete Boggs family is.
Gladly, sir. The largest branch of our family is in Siberia and is about the size of France and Germany combined. Our cousin Wade Boggs even played for the Red Sox in the dirt.
Combined? And isn't Siberia frozen?
Well, that explains the odoriferous thing, your judgeship. Most of my family has been frozen for 11,000 years, since the end of the last glaciation. I said glaciation correctly this time. As the tundra gets warmer, the methane that's been cooking under us all these years is getting released. Our permafrost has been sitting over 70 million tons of methane. And as we melt its Skeeter City with a gaseous chaser,
Whatever are you made of, Mr. Boggs?
oh, your usual dead, rotting plants and animal parts. Parts is parts.
Can you tell the jury what is happening to you now, Mr. Boggs?
Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley.
Yes, ma'am. It's kind of complicated. Plants take in carbon dioxide and give off oxygen, right? But when a plant dies, it gives off methane, the dog poop of the planet.
Go on. Go on, Mr. Boggs.
Don't be bashful.
Things were cool as long as we've been frozen for thousands of years, but now we're just bursting with methane. I mean, really stinking up the joint with more hot air than the Kremlin.
This is unprecedented. The planet gets hotter, making permafrost melt, which makes the planet hotter. And what are you carrying, Mr. Boggs?
Why, this is a tip I got from these fellers who spend their summers looking at the coastline of Siberia in boats and with binoculars. This is a genuine woolly mammoth tusk. It was buried under the permafrost forever and a day, but not no more. This is big business. I sold one like this on eBay last week for $7 grand.
Mr. Boggs, I find your attitude self-centered. You can decompose on your own time. Your humor about this serious matter is inappropriate.
May I approach the bench, your judgeship?
This better be good.
Mr. Bailiff, will you please give that to the judge? Judge, I keep finding these in the tundra too. Do you think it's a dinosaur egg?
Mr. Boggs, I find you in contempt.
Well, that's awful mean, your hackership. Before you find me anything, is it okay if I go out in the hall and have a smoke?
No!
Don't blow us all up.
Thank you, Mr. Boggs. You may take your stinky self away. Your Honor, as my next witness, I call Mr. Fordosaurus. That is, if you can find a place big enough to park his vehicle. Welcome, Mr. Fordosaurus. How did you find a place large enough to park?
I just waited for the circus to leave town and went to the circus parking lot.
I'm not pleased to hear that, but please be seated, Mr. Fordosaurus. Try to make yourself comfortable.
We apologize that the chair is not hand-stitched, rich Corinthian leather with a built-in heater and all the bells and whistles. But we do what we can with the courthouse budget.
Well, if this is all you can do, okay.
That's a strange posture, sir.
Well, Your Honor, I'm used to sitting up higher than the other people on the road. Gives me a feeling of security and power, like I'm the big wagon train in town. Heck, I am a town.
I see. And this feeling of power is something you have to have, Mr. Fordosaurus?
Oh, you betcha. When the little woman and I are cruising around national parks, I can pretend I've got twin 50 caliber machine guns mounted on my roof, which I would really like. Any critters that I see, why, I just eyeball them through my binocular daytime, nighttime goggles and just blow them away. Well, so far just pretend.
Okay, so speaking of carnage, Mr. Fortosaurus, have you or your fake mercenary for hire buddies ever learned about the scientific concern about global warming, the warming of the global atmosphere caused in part by gas guzzlers like you?
Yeah, I think there was an article in National Geographic a while back that mentioned something about it. But I just looked at the pictures just the way I used to do when they still got Playboy. But what's the point? I'm a businessman, man. And,
Don't call me ma'am.
And not one of those overpaid academic pseudoscientific chicken littles who spend all day on CNN. Production is what's made this country great. Unfettered production has given us the world's best lifestyle. California is going to regulate its way into the ocean. Is it still part of the union?
Yes. Thank you for your crash course in business, Mr. Fortosaurus. Speaking of production, would you be kind enough to share with the jury what kind of mileage production your vehicle gets on a gallon of gas?
Sure. It's rated at 16 miles per gallon. And don't tell anyone, I found a place right here in Manchester that whacked off the catalytic converter right off for 50 bucks. I was able to sell it to some kids for $4.50. The converter has precious metals in it, and precious is one of my favorite words if it relates to metals and things. Like I said, I'm a businessman. No catalytic converter gets me up to 18 miles per gallon on the downhill and throws out cool-looking exhaust in my rear view window. Out of sight, out of mind. Ain't my problem. So what if the world has one less catalytic converter to filter out particles I can't even see? Particles. There's particles, they don't count.
Sure. And can you share with us why you chose this specific vehicle for your family?
Sure, to me it's all about looks. People see me and they think, that's what I'd like to have. It's prestige. I should have opened a dealership.
Thank you for sparing us a few minutes of your valuable time, Mr. Fortosaurus. Your testimony, strange as it was, has been valuable to this trial.
Good.
You may now climb down from your high horse, Mr. Fortosaurus.
Okay, let me see if I can get this thing started.
Your Honor, I now call Ms. Gulfstream as a witness. Welcome, Ms. Gulfstream. Could you please tell the jury how long your route is?
I journey up and down the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans without ever stopping. They call me the ocean conveyor belt. It takes me 400 days to go from Florida to England.
You make this long journey non-stop?
Yes, Your Honor. I've been doing this for thousands of years. It's my life's work. I'm best known for moving warm water north to England and the rest of Northern Europe. As long as I keep moving my water paths, Europe stays warm in winter.
Objection, Your Honor. Ms. Gulfstream is straying from relevant testimony. In fact, she's straying all over the court. Can you please get her to sit down?
I'm going to agree with you on this, counsel. Request granted. Ms. Gulfstream, may it please the court that you take a seat, just like we learned in kindergarten. None of us can focus with you in constant motion.
I don't think you want me to do that, Your Honor. In my case, it's just not a good idea.
And why is that, Ms. Gulfstream?
I'm trying to warn you.
This court, unlike you, is unmoved. I insist that you take a seat.
I'll make this brief for the sake of us all, Ms. Gulfstream. Can you please tell the jury in more detail why you must dance right away, even during the day?
Of course. After my swing past Europe with the warm water, I start to cool. Newfoundland is cold. So I turned back south again to get warm, but a couple of things happened. My cold water is now heavier than the warm water still heading north, so it sinks down or sublimates out of the way. Also, some of my water is freezing into sea ice up there. Remember the Titanic? Forcing the salt out as it freezes. This makes the water even saltier and heavier. This also helps to sink the water going south below the level of the water coming north. Can you follow all this, ma'am?
Yes, and please do not call me ma'am. I can. But I suspect that the rest of the courtroom is only going to understand this while you're still seated.
I just want to chill. I just hope it's not the big chill for the planet.
You're just beginning to feel the important work I do. Great Britain is the same latitude as Siberia. If I don't deliver the warm southern water, they be ice skating year-round on the Thames. I deliver 27,000 times as much heat to Britain in the winter as all their power plants put together. Pretty impressive.
But please tell us what is happening now.
World's people are burning so much fossil fuel that the northern climate is warming faster than anywhere else on Earth. The melting polar ice in northern Greenland is diluting my salt water as the ice melts. My salt water needs to sink, but it's not. If it doesn't sink, we're sunk.
Please continue.
I'm slowing down by almost 30%. I'm slowing down. It's frustrating after all these years of getting plenty of exercise and running around the earth.
It's frozen. My water is frozen.
I tried to warn you. When I stop moving, it gets C-O-L-D cold.
You've convinced me to change my mind, Miss Gulfstream. Please start moving again.
Yes, please start moving again.
Please remember, I'm not the one producing emissions. This court needs to talk with world's people. It's all up to them.
You have been most helpful, Ms. Gulfstream. Just as you breezed in here, you can breeze right out. And please keep breezing.
I'll do my best, ma'am. Toodaloo.
I now call Mr. Coal-Fired Power Plant to the stand, but I really do not like this guy.
I get that you don't like me. I'm ugly, I smell bad, and I have bad breath. But I was the fuel for the Industrial Revolution in America. I powered the trains, heated the homes and factories, and still, to this day, produce electricity.
You think you're pretty patriotic, don't you?
Yes, indeed. 100% American, addicted to a large carbon footprint. Just like a junkie shooting up and risking death, we people are addicted to our energy consumption, which can cause our 6th major species extinction.
You have a cousin in Bow, New Hampshire I don't like either. And digging for coal underground by removing mountaintops in the Appalachians is pure pollution. What's natural about that?
Objection. Mother Earth is prejudicial and is all over the place, and this evidence is killing my case.
I'll allow this line of questioning for now. And you can use a good bath, Mr. Coal-Fired. As they say at my weekly poker game, down and dirty, read 'em and weep.
I am weeping. But I take consolation that you provided 51% of American electricity in the year 2000, and now you're down to 21%. You'll be gone, but not soon enough. How do you even justify yourself?
I can't justify myself. I'm part of the problem. There are 98 new coal-fired plants being built in China as we speak, 23 in India as we speak, 23 in Indonesia, Japan has 150 in operation now, and they're building 20 more. Japan says it will be carbon neutral by 2050. That's like a 500-pound guy guarding the donut shop. Clean coal just is way too much work. All that scrubbing and stuff takes more energy than you... It's just a pain in the ass to clean coal.
Where are these new plants being built in Japan?
I don't rightly know, ma'am. You can't see it on Google Earth because there's this funny black cloud right over the country. Heard of the black hole in Calcutta? This is the black hole of Honshu and Hokkaido. We might need Stephen Hawkins to find Japan.
Wow. This is a bigger mess than when Godzilla torched Tokyo. Can we at least start by telling your cousin in Bo to make a tree and leave? Oh, I forgot. Wherever you are, there are no trees.
You got me there, but oh no, ma'am. We're literally sticking around the New Hampshire we're literally sticking around. The New Hampshire legislature approved my cousin as the backup energy plan in the state in case we get hit by the blizzard of 78, a tsunami at Hampton Beach, and a hurricane coming down Franconia Notch, all at the same time. Remember Texas last winter? Gotta have a backup plan.
So, please don't call me ma'am. And how long do we have to put up with this backup plan?
Only until they strike oil at Hampton Beach. I bet there's tar sands right under old Strawberry Bank.
There's a reason they call you a fossil fuel. If you continue to pollute the earth and the sky, we'll all be fossils. A coal-fired plant emits as much CO2 in an hour as a person does in 26 years. Leave and never darken my towels again. Go, shoot.
The witness can now step down. Thank you, Mother Earth. Are counselors now ready for closing summaries?
Yes, Your Honor.
I am, Your Honor.
Please proceed with your defense, Counselor, such as it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, honored guests, I stand before you embarrassed as a member of the legal profession, embarrassed that this proceeding has forced you to sit and listen to some of the most blatant, pseudoscientific drivel that I have ever heard in a courtroom. I ask you, does Mother Earth expect you to believe that glaciers melting in France are caused by your driving a Fordosaurus to the grocery store here, in this town? That what happens to Ms. Gulfstream while jogging in northern Greenland affects the price of eggs? Let's be honest about what some environmentalists are reporting from a few isolated corners of the globe. Mother Earth, despite her whining today, has been waxing hot and cold for millions of years. That happens to middle-aged women. It's neither fair nor scientifically accurate for her to complain that warming is caused by the daily activities of world's people. In closing, I hope intelligent men and women such as yourselves have not been taken in by these ludicrous fictions and false charges against my innocent clients, world's people. Fossil fuels give us internal combustion transportation, heat for our homes, and the invention that shows no signs of stopping, plastics. We're talking hundreds of thousands of lucrative jobs lost if we do away with fossil fuels. Please save any waste of your time and mine and vote to declare world's people innocent of these silly charges. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I thank you for your attention.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Defense Attorney. The floor is now yours, Mother Earth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I had hoped to call more witnesses today, but Your Honor's need to make a 3:30 golf date caused me to limit my list of witnesses. I would have called Hurricane Katrina, who would have testified that the warming of the Gulf of Mexico and the North Atlantic was responsible for her ferocity and for the frequency and severity of her fellow hurricanes. I would have called Mrs. Polar Bear from her home in the Arctic, who would have talked about having to swim up to 60 miles to gather food for her family. How would you feel if your grocery store was that far away? I would have called Mr. Dry Drought, who would have told you that although some parts of the world get too much rain, other parts are parched dry. America's breadbasket is drying up. I would have called Ms. Coral Reef. She would have told you about Australia's Great Barrier Reef that is dying after being alive for 18 million years. Reefs all over the world are turning white and dying because of a small rise in the ocean's temperature. This prevents algae from blooming in the reefs, giving them their color, which attracts small fish to eat the algae. The bigger fish eat the little fish, creating a food chain. The coral reef is not just pretty, it is indispensable. As you know, I have been around for a long, long time.
Oh, we know.
You're welcome. Time far past your understanding. And during that time, I have kept myself reasonably in balance. The defense attorney is correct in saying that over eons of time, I have had many changes from hot to cold and back again. What he neglected to remind you, however, is that when I changed temperature, it took thousands of years, sometimes tens of thousands. But not this time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Since world people's industrial revolution, the amount of warmth producing gases in my atmosphere has climbed to the highest level in 650,000 years. Global warming is not new. Scientists were alarmed by the rapid increase in greenhouse gases since your 1970s. Yet the people have not changed their behaviors in any significant way. That, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is why I'm bringing charges. I won't tolerate it, and neither should you. As long as I receive energy from our sun, I can live and adapt. I always have. But I must warn you, and out of my affection for you, my methods of adapting may be such that I can no longer sustain and support world's peoples. If such is the case, I will miss world's people. They've been fun. But in many ways, they have not been good to me, so I may not miss them for long. The dinosaurs were fun too, but when they were gone, I missed them for about 10,000 years, just a mere blip of my lifespan. I hope that in your deliberations, you will consider the future stretching out before the children of the world. With that sincere wish, I close with these words from author John Acheson. Our children may forgive us the debts we're passing on to them. They may forgive us if terrorism persists. They may forgive us for waging war instead of peace. They may even forgive us for squandering the opportunity to put the nuclear genie back in the bottle. But they will spit on our bones and curse our names if we pass on a world that is barely habitable when it was within our power to prevent it, and they will be right to do so. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for your respectful time and attention.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now break for deliberations. Please return when you hear my bell. Everyone will please stand.
Now are you on?
Now, members of the jury, comes the most important moment of these proceedings. Are you prepared to render a decision in the case of Mother Earth versus the world's people?
Please signify by saying I am.
I am.
They are ready, Your Honor.
Good. As you all know, the determination of guilt or innocence in a case such as this is determined by a simple majority. Good thing. Bailiff, will you please monitor the count?
Yes, Your Honor.
Will all jurors who have found the world's people guilty as charged for carrying out grievous damages against Mother Earth and limiting her civil rights to a fruitful existence so signify by saying aye and raising your hand?
Aye.
Thank you. Will all those who found world's people innocent of the charges so signify by saying nay and raising your hands? Thank you, Bailiff. What is the final verdict?
Your Honor, the jury has voted to find world's people guilty of Mother Earth's charges.
Thank you. Please certify the result in the court records. Stepping outside my official role as judge of this court, I must say that I am pleased by your fair verdict. Given your verdict, I sentence the guilty parties to extensive community service, the length commensurate to the service and efforts needed to substantially lower greenhouse gas emissions. Mother Earth, I leave the details of this community service to you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And I will do this with pleasure. I have 3 community service actions that all of world's people in the developed world can do to further limit harm to me. First, when you are driving, drive more slowly, commute with a friend, don't drive when you can, ride a bike or take a bus, as the defense attorney pointed out earlier today. You want to conserve energy. Secondly, reduce the amount of meat that you're eating. The meat really contributes to the generation of greenhouse gases around the world, and the agriculture associated with feeding those animals that you are eating takes up a lot of toxic chemicals that are used to create the agriculture needed, which also has an impact on the earth. And third, I think that you should all, in New Hampshire certainly, be getting an energy audit with New Hampshire Saves. They will go in and check and find ways for you to save energy in your own homes. And the legislature has approved funding for that, so take advantage of it now. Thank you for the help I know you'll give me. I truly hope we can live together for a long, long time. But remember, the choice of whether we can continue to live together is yours, not mine.
Thank you, Mother Earth. I charge each person to carry out all 3 of Mother Earth's community services. You are all on probation with this court. If my probation officers tell me we need to reconvene again, there will be hell to pay. I thank all of you for your excellent work today. I declare the trial concluded and the work of International Court of Last Resort finished, hopefully forever.
All rise.
So there you have it. Mother Earth versus world's people. I thought, Mel, you provided some really interesting information in that video that a lot of people might not have thought about the impact on the Gulf Stream, the disaster that could happen if the Gulf Stream doesn't keep wandering its way as it has for many centuries, maybe even millennium, from the Gulf to warm up northern Europe. And about the warming and making available the bark and tusks from mammoths and mastodons, which is just astonishing to think about that. And I thought it was a really fine thing you did bringing this to us. Would you like to add anything or comment on where we're at?
Well, I sometimes wonder whether, perhaps as some of your audience does, whether what I do in my home really makes any difference. And then I think about the story of the young man on the seashore when a storm washed thousands and thousands of starfish ashore, and he was tossing them back into the ocean one at a time, when a man came along and said, "You know, son, you're really not going to make any difference." And the boy said, as he tossed another one back in the ocean, "It made a difference to that one." I think every little bit that we do matters. We really are not alone. Consumer spending makes up like 70% of the gross domestic product, and each of us contribute to that. If we align our dollars with our desire for a healthy planet, we will make a difference. We have made a difference. I know sometimes I think that corporations only care about the almighty dollar, but the almighty dollar is what we have in our pocket. And if we align our spending and don't share it with those corporations who don't care about the health of the planet, then they will begin to care about climate change. So I kind of look forward to maybe hearing if your audience has anything to offer.
Well, I certainly hope we'll hear from some folks. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. 640-3091 at area 603. If you'd like to comment and contribute to the program, we'd be most welcome to have you do that. I have to tell you, Malia, that I've never been so discouraged as I am now. Right now we're in a period of rising prices for fuel. We're all aware of the prices that are going up at the gasoline pump, although recently they've been coming down a little. And it's just amazing. Nobody sees the upside to this, which it'll maybe drive more people to get, into electric vehicles. Why aren't we moving in that way? Not electric vehicles are the answer to everything, but they're certainly a good thing. Right now, the number one contributor to climate gases emissions is the transportation sector. For many, many years, it was the electric power sector. But we've shuttered enough coal plants, although we still got one here in New Hampshire cranking away, creating noxious and dangerous emissions. But we've moved away from that. And now it's the transportation sector which we have to really transform. And the technology is there. We know how to do this.
And the price of electric cars is coming down.
Well, I think the demand is so high now, I'm not sure it really is. But it is definitely good. And, we have it in our power to do more to power our, and transportation with electricity. And it can be electricity that's cleanly created through solar and wind. And you can charge up your electric vehicle at night when the grid has excess power that they can provide without having to fire up any coal plants, like the Bow plant. And so we have the answers. The technology is there, and it's good for our economy. The jobs that we can provide to people to install solar, and to the extent they're still acceptable in some places, wind, these are local jobs. These jobs can't be outsourced to countries far over the ocean. These jobs can be done by people we want to attract to New Hampshire, and people want to do these jobs. People feel good about doing these jobs. They feel good about helping the economy and helping the environment by installing solar and local wind projects. And then we have the potential of enormous resource in offshore wind in the Gulf of Maine, one of the richest environments in the entire world, that generate a lot of, megawatt after megawatt after megawatt through just the use of wind, which does not, of course, emit any noxious, never mind carbon dioxide or methane. It doesn't emit any things, and it's fuel-free.
And despite what the defense attorney said in the play, when turbines do not kill eagles.
Yeah, that's right, and they don't cause cancer. It's every energy source has some drawbacks, even the most benign ones like solar, which requires the use of some rare earth materials that require some mining impacts and things like that. But the one thing that we know that can work the best with the least environmental impact is energy efficiency. And I like to remind people, and I used to be the chair of the Senate, the House Science, Technology, and Energy Committee. When we talk about energy efficiency, I'm not talking about you have to be colder in the winter or hotter in the summer because you can't use your air conditioner. I'm talking about in the same energy values that you want to have and should have can be provided by generating fewer kilowatts. What Amory Lovins, in his wonderful phrase, coined negawatts. We can have negawatts. This is the cheapest, most cost-effective energy source we have, and there's a lot of room for more of it. Whether it's some community power, we got to get it going on that, Manchester. Manchester should be moving forward with community power, and so we can have the city of Manchester, as many other communities are doing in New Hampshire, be the buyer of electric power for its own accounts and for its citizens, and use its bargaining power to get cheaper cost electricity services developed and delivered to our citizens. So I'm really hoping that a mayor, board, and alderman will get going on this. This is a very fine option. New Hampshire has, frankly, not been doing a great job of setting more ambitious energy efficiency and renewable energy goals. It's very unfortunate.
So in Derry, just over the last year or so, has gotten approval. The town council has approved a solar field over the old landfill that's going to produce enough electricity to cover all of the electrical costs of the New Hampshire government, and that's going to mean dollars in the property taxpayers'
You said New Hampshire government, you mean Derry government or New Hampshire government?
The Derry Town Council.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Okay, well, that's great. And, and we do at long last, thank you, Mayor Craig and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, we do at long last have our own solar array up on what I call Mount Manchester, which is, the old landfill on Dunbarton Road. And, they weren't going to build garden apartments there, folks, but we have a fine solar array up there. And every day, we've had a lot of beautiful sunny days this summer, haven't we? We're all so grateful. So that was really great. Melanie, I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing this video, this play with us. Obviously, it's an amateur production, but it had some good information. I think it had information that a lot of people did not understand. And folks, when we hear about the only issue today is the price of gas, think about that a little bit. Shouldn't we be paying more for the fossil fuels so that it will help us to transition to a long-term, more sustainable world? It's a tough thing to say, but I think it's something that we should really be looking for to have happen. And, the scientists and the climate scientists are overwhelmingly unanimous on this, like over 93%, isn't it, Melanie, of climate science. They all say this is not, normal variations. This is not uncertain science. This is the deal. And we have a very little time to deal with it, and the window is closing rapidly. We want to leave a better world for our children. That's all we all wanted to do. I had a better life than my parents did, I think. I think most of it, but whether our children are going to have a better life than we did, very much in doubt. And the number one reason for that doubt is the climate crisis. So again, thank you, Melanie, for coming in and joining us.
I thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure to have the opportunity to spread the word.
And I think you did it very well. Thank you. Okay, folks, I'll be back, I think, next week with my friend Mike Farley, and we'll do another show then. Sorry, Mike, you couldn't be here today, but we had a good time even without you. Bye-bye.